You know, I was watching the presentations and I realized two inescapable truths with this room. The first is everyone really needs a drink. So that's coming, I swear. I've got 40s in the back lined up. We're good to go. And the second thing is I really need a British accent because Martin just killed it. So I'm going to start doing that from now on after this presentation. So this is going to be live and unpredictable, which is great because that's the whole space we work in. There is no deck, there's no PowerPoint, there is no PDF, there's nothing static. What you see on screen is the calm before the storm. What we do at Bottlenose is we map the world's collective consciousness and we look across social networks, stock data, sales data, intent, human emotions, anger, blind rage, all these things that factor into the numbers that companies like Twitter and Facebook use. What is a like? What is a retweet? What is a repin? How many vines did I get reposted today on another site? All of this is driven by emotions, which seems like a really simple concept, but the problem is for the last 8 or so years since Radian 6 came into play, that was one of the original social listening platforms, they've only dealt with positive, negative, and neutral. And for the love of God, nobody in this room operates on those 3 bands of emotion. So what we've decided is, forget that, just screw it. We're starting over, we're gonna build something better, we're gonna work off of what's going on in the human brain. So some of you guys saw what we did last time when we showed the world of Toyota versus the world of your competitors versus the auto industry at large. So in that time, we've been in our Batcave working up some really fun new features, one of which we've just launched, and we're gonna show it to you today. But I just want to pull back for one quick second. I'm gonna wake you all the hell up right now. So we're gonna start. What you see on screen is the word Toyota. And to the top right of that, you're gonna see 4 lenses. This is how we tell the entire story for you, for your competitors, and for the whole industry you work in. Topics, hashtags, people, and message types. From these 4 lenses, we can tell any story on the planet, for any social network on the planet, for any piece of sales data on the planet. We're after what makes you tick. And once we know that, all of this crazy big data stuff that everyone keeps talking about, it becomes way simpler to use. So let's just fire it up. By the way, my counterpart, Corey Smith, is here running all this in the back. By the way, Corey's badge just says Corey, much like Cher or Prince. So that's Corey over there. He got the special badge today. Yeah, there we go. So we're gonna fire this up for you. In the world of Toyota, and this is live, by the way, so I have no idea what we're about to look at. It should be fun. We're gonna show you topics. We're gonna show you hashtags. We're gonna start here. We're gonna keep it safe. In the world of general conversations about Toyota, we break all of this down. We analyze 3 billion pieces of content per hour across 150 different types of metrics for every single one of these pieces of content, whether it's a Facebook post or a tweet or whatever have you. So when you look at all this stuff on screen, we've split it up into things that are orange, which means this is accelerating. Right now, on some social network somewhere in the planet, because we do 146 languages as of now, of which I only speak 1, English, we can show you what's trending based off size and color. We try to keep this very straightforward. So since none of these people in the room are data scientists, I'm going to guess, because I'm certainly not, what we've learned is that basic visual cues can tell the whole story. So things like colors that are orange, that tells us what's heating up right now. And if we clicked on one, like the Toyota Celica, we can open a sidebar, and we can show you all the trending conversations on different networks ranked by time or popularity with little green or red nodes under it indicating sentiment. And if we wanted to learn more about something like the Toyota Celica, all we'd have to do is click Explore on Toyota Celica. So go ahead, Corey, fire that up. In real time, since we're mapping the collective consciousness as it's unfolding, we can show you in 3 seconds or less a heat map for anything on Earth you want to look at. So this is the world of Celica right now. And we can probably see some really great things, but also some moderately disturbing things in here. This is the unfiltered truth. You know, we see things like classic cars at the top left. That's a hashtag. And that is not exclusive to Twitter, although we should be honest with ourselves. Twitter owns the world of hashtags, but they're on Tumblr, they're on Facebook, they're on websites. Everybody uses hashtags. Some platforms don't know why they're using hashtags, but we bring it in. And so we could find out all the people talking about classic cars related to Toyota Celica, if there was a trend there. And when we find all this stuff, we just feed it to you in real time. And we can tell anyone in the room, hey guys, right now, there is a nascent trend. This hasn't yet hit peak saturation, but the entire classic car community has just somehow shifted focus to talk about the Celica. If that happened, we'll know before it goes viral. That's what we do. We're after trends before they hit peak saturation. So Corey, let's bring it back to Toyota. Just click the back button. All right. Hashtags, topics, we have a third way of looking at trends. We can do this through the lens of people talking about content. So if any one of you tweeted something right now, we'll know, and we'll be able to surface that on screen. So we could look at a real-time heat map of all the people right now talking about Toyota, but then we store it, we index it, we categorize it, because we're always telling stories. So even though we look at the here and now, we can go back in time a day, a week, a month, a year, and tell you that story about any set of influencers. And then the fourth way we look at trends is through a lens called message types. And message types is the 60,000-foot view of trends. Breaking news in the finance sector connected to auto trends, connected to somehow the world of fashion, and intent to buy a car that makes my dress look better. If that was some hypothetical weird trend, we can index it and store it and tell you that story. And if it's one person or a million, we can really track all of that and tell what that story is. By the way, when you're looking at this, it might be hard to see, but we can tell things, as I mentioned earlier, intent, because we look at all types of emotion. Intent to purchase, whether it's you guys with a Toyota Prius or a rival, if it's Volvo or Ford or whatever have you. We can look at things like the emotion love or anger, and if anger is trending in the world of Toyota, we will know why before most people at Toyota will know why. We are really, really good at getting in the heads of your users so we can explain this, how trends evolve over time to the brand. And you can click on any of these things. You can click the button Explore and learn all about any one of these trends or any piece of content that's floating on screen. But let's go ahead, Corey, and pull out that sidebar really quick on the left. This is a live look at the collective consciousness, but we've realized that all of our clients, we work with enterprise clients globally, and we run the gamut of clients. We work with companies that only look at Syrian terrorism, trying to understand how they can stop it before it starts. So we work with governments. We work with major brands like Pepsi or Warner Brothers, trying to understand how they stack up against competitors like Coke or Paramount or NBC Universal. But what we offer is not just spikes in volume. We can show, based off of sentiment, which we're going to go to now. Let's start in psych profiles. We can show a brand, and it's a little condensed on this screen, I apologize. What we show are things like aggression, positive effect, glory, restraint. We use something called it's a regressive image dictionary. I won't bore you with this, but the point is, when we look at emotions, we start at the top. What are these different types of emotions that drive content in Toyota? By region, by car, whatever. And from there, if we saw a spike, which my favorite is aggression, if we saw a spike around aggression connected to one car, we want to know when it happened, why it happened, and where it's going, and if there's going to be a problem for the brand at large. So we can do all that. We look at time, we look at all these things. And then once we figure out what type of emotion is going on, then we can drill in further, and we can look at all the different kinds of topics that are driving it. So if we scroll down, we can show you, we use, by the way, at that scale up top, we use a very complex, we have a complex way of looking at emotions, an 18 to 18 scale. So we look at everything from absolute euphoria at the number, at the green 18, all the way to rage blackout at negative 18. And having spent a lot of time analyzing your brand, I have seen rage blackout come up in here, and it's absolutely hilarious why it comes up. Point being, scrolling down, when we look at all that content you saw on Sonar, all those ripple effects and connective threads between content, we can then layer in this emotional heat map on top in real time or going back in time. So we could tell you what it is specifically that's trending in your universe. In this case, in New York, there's a lot of positivity connected to Toyota. We could certainly find out why. The Toyota Corolla has exceptionally high positive sentiment right now. Then we can go down to the negative, which is always my favorite space, and we can look at things like, I don't even know some of these words. There's LiveMint. Tesla is trending negatively with you guys right now, and as I'm sure you know, you guys are in a race with them for this fuel cell car. So there's a lot of anger going on, and there's a competitive spirit that's bubbling up, connecting Tesla and Toyota. Scrolling further down, the biggest part of our tool that we teach our clients is you do not need to know everything going on in your universe. We do it for you. You give us a single word, and we build that entire heat map that shows what's going on with Toyota. These are all the positive and negative things. And look, there's buttholes. That's new. Please don't click that, Corey. I should tell you, everything in the tool is clickable and explorable. And so our clients can get very granular with this data. Scroll down. I told you, this is unpredictable, guys. If we see something like Teen Drive 365, go ahead and click that, Corey. On the far left, yeah. There you go. We can open this tiny widget and show you just the volume and the numbers if you need them for any single hashtag or topic or influencer. And we go into Sonar, we can also show you male versus female, what gender is driving it, what age group. And then we could show you all the content that's driving this one hashtag. And again, going back to that concept of communities, every single word in Sonar has a community behind it. So if Toyota is laser focused, let's just say in California specifically, they're laser focused on crushing Tesla. Just in California, we will show you the trends connecting Tesla and Toyota just in California, and who to reach, why to reach them, and when to do it. We can do all of this in real time. And then we can go into Sonar. Once you activate something, a piece of content, in Google+, like Martin was saying, then you can, in real time, you can watch it spread. So you always know how you're doing versus your competitors. And then we get into things like the influencers, ambassadors versus detractors, and we even go a level deeper and show you the positive and negative mentioned people referenced by the influencers. So we get, in this whole concept of everything is connected for Toyota, we really mean that. We can go exceptionally deep to show you those trends. So thinking about all the things that drive Toyota, we have a way of looking at your audience that's, we think, pretty cutting edge. Go scroll down, Corey. It might be a little hard to get in there. Let's see. It's, our screen is very condensed. If you hit the Apple minus once, that might make it a little easier. Yeah. So at the bottom is an audience tab. And we could do standard stuff like follower counts for influence, number of posts, which is called frequency. But we get into some really fun stuff for Toyota. We know the age groups, the income levels, the brand affinities, what religion people believe in connected to Toyota. Most people don't think this data is accessible, but we have set up some deals to bring in fire hoses of data exclusively around demographics. So we can tell a story over a week, a month, a year about the different types of people that talk about Toyota, millennials versus boomers versus Gen Z. Gen Z would be the youngest, most recent group of people that will soon be buying Toyotas and have absolutely no concept of how privacy works, by the way, compared to someone like me who's terrified of it now. Anyways, we can get into all this stuff and show you the rise and fall of different age groups and income levels, which tells the story for Toyota. So all this is really fun, but we've also realized with our clients that they can't spend all day inside a bottlenose because they have lives. So we developed a setup called Trends. So this entire nerve center now fits in your phone or on your iPad or on your laptop, and it goes with you, feeding the alerts to every single person in this room based off what you want to see. In other words, if one of you, like you in the blue shirt and the khakis here, if you only cared about media coverage of you in a positive light just about Tesla and Toyota, then we send you alerts about that before it goes viral. But if you only care about that Teen Drive 365 hashtag and you really want to know more about how that trends with you and, let's say, Ford, we start sending you alerts for that. So we baked in alerts, this nerve center that's customized to every single user that is part of our system. And it feeds you some really hilarious stuff. I've set up things for Toyota in the past, not around buttholes, that's a new one, but around some disturbing and awkward and hilarious stuff connected to you guys. And we look for, do these trends fizzle out and die, or do they actually have legs, and are they going to be a problem for your brand? Even getting into things like recalls, which is not just with you, but any other auto brand. We can show who it's really going to impact today, tomorrow, in the future. So anyways, this is just social, but that's only one half of the equation. You guys are all here because you're looking at creative ways to sell cars, push inventory, and maximize visibility. The other half of that battle for us comes from television. So this is a world's first. We're the only company in the world to do this right now. We ingest 98% of real-time broadcast data globally. This is not like what Twitter has done with Bluefin, which was like groundbreaking in its own right. We are bringing in literal mentions of any product, in this case Toyota, in all of your cars, in real time as it's spoken on any channel anywhere in the world, which we convert into text and feed into our system. That's 40 hours per minute of video coming in here globally. It's a lot. But when we look at this stuff, we don't generally use sonar to detect these trends. If you open that sidebar for me, Mr. Smith, the other one, please. Oh, I'm sorry, let's start there, actually. We can play clips, so anything about Toyota, we could click on something like Toyota Tacoma, which is large on screen, indicating across the world right now, on broadcast channels, the Tacoma is being referenced quite a bit. We could open any one of those. For example, The Price is Right, so you're advertising on The Price is Right. And we could, of course, play that clip and show you how and why Toyota was referenced in an ad connected to The Price is Right. And if somehow that became a trend where you absolutely saw incredible resonance between social and broadcast just from The Price is Right, we can tell you who's driving it, why they're driving it, and if this is something you need to keep investing in for TV advertisements. This whole concept is called resonance. How do you bridge social with broadcast? And it's been really, really difficult for companies to do that. But we have access to data now that was really, really difficult to get previously. So we have now found ways to connect all the advertising you guys do on TV with what's going on Twitter or Facebook or Google+. So open up that other sidebar for me. So on the audience tab, let's start with genres. And keep in mind, this is a live look at all the television, all the broadcast content globally here. We can show you what genres Toyota is being referenced in. And keep in mind, this is not just advertisements from Toyota. This is actual people, like if it was Drew Carey from The Price is Right referencing the word Toyota, we pick that up. And so we can see that you guys are trending in, let's see, talk news, sitcom, talk comedy. There's a pattern here. But let's just drill into the actual shows now that you're connected to. Let's check that out. We've got a few. CBS This Morning, Today, NCIS, and 2.5 Men. We could tell you over time how that looks, or just today, but I want to focus on NCIS. So I personally don't watch this show, but I am a Toyota lover. So I want to now know what the resonance is between people watching NCIS and people talking about Toyota. An ad that plays on NCIS, did that resonate with your target audience, or did nobody care? So what we can do is, going to one tab over, let's just jump into the social universe of NCIS. And we can fire that up, we can look at all the topics, the hashtags, the people. If we see Toyota in here, we've struck gold, because we know that your brand is being referenced by the people who watched NCIS. Or we could run a search for it. Go ahead in the bottom left, Corey, and bring out that sidebar again. Thank you. And go down to Audience, and go to Signals, Topics. So I'm searching the whole world of social to look for mentions of Toyota. So type in Toyota. One mention. What this means is, of all the advertisements that happened with NCIS referencing Toyota, there was one person that spoke about it. So we could figure out what they said, if it was positive, negative, if we need to make any changes to the content on broadcast in order to resonate with an audience in social. So this is the kind of stuff we look at. We're looking at millions and millions of pieces of data to find that signal within the noise. So I thought I would step back for a second and show you how vast this world is. It's not just Toyota we track. We track Scion, we track Lexus. I don't even own a Scion, but I know more about Scion than I think anybody now on the planet, I feel like. I feel like I could work for Scion at this point. But you can run a search for anything in the world, because we don't just track you guys or your competitors or Warner Brothers or Pepsi. We can search anything right now and show you what that looks like. So I picked on you before, sorry about that. Pick anything in the world you want to search for right now. Doesn't have to be Toyota. It's like a deer in tequila. Search it, Corey. This is a live look at tequila. We could, of course, search in the same way you use Google. You can now, to search the static web, you can use our tool to search the elastic web. You really pick something that's going to be disturbing, I'm sure. Let's find out. So it's blowing up in the word Mexico, not a shock. I see Twitter on there. Click on that one little Twitter node right there, Corey. Bottom left. Yeah. There we go. Open that sidebar. Couple posts connecting tequila and Twitter right now. If this became a trend on Twitter, we can actually find this before it hits Twitter top 10 box in your top trending section. We've actually done bake-offs with Twitter, and we've been able to surface trends within their platform 5 minutes faster than Twitter can. And with Twitter, because it's so visceral and crazy and manic, which is our favorite space to play in, we can connect all these dots so fast and then tell a story. So let's open that search box again, Corey. Let's stick with the tequila theme, which is good for this open bar we're all about to go to. Let's do tequila, and let's type in Twitter. Yeah, because we can combine words. Imagine the whole world is one big Venn diagram. We can take any two slivers or any circles, throw them together, and see what's trending. And I'm showing you this because I'm assuming you're not going to do an ad on tequila in Twitter for Toyota. But if you're looking at ways content ideation, coming up with new themes and topics to really get in touch with your audience, millennials, boomers, males, females, we can show you what they're talking about. So this is the world of tequila and Twitter right now. And you could explore all this stuff and go down a bunch of rabbit holes. In the same way you guys might go on Wikipedia and link hop, you can trend hop with a tool like this. So there is a lot in here. I know I just blitzed through a lot, but the point I need to make to all of you is the the way we approach social and the way we approach broadcast and how we explain to people how to sell better is through this really easy concept of emotional triggers: anger, mistrust, even sarcasm, which we can detect in this tool, which is now something, I don't know if you guys know, that the government is actively trying to do. They've actually put out an RFP for all social listening platforms who can detect sarcasm. We whipped up an engine for sarcasm in 2 days, I think, and now we're running it. We actually tested it on Toyota. Hey, Corey, let's just see really quick if sarcasm is in the Toyota universe. Go to that top left tab for me. Yeah, and go back to sonar. Switch to message types, and let's see if sarcasm is blowing up for some strange reason in Toyota. See a lot of stuff about news, business, finance, opinionated posts. Not much in sarcasm. That's probably a good thing. But if this was a threat to your brand and it somehow connected to what was going on with Tesla and that concept of the fuel cell cars and batteries and longevity of the battery, and it was all traced back to sarcasm, and that was hurting Toyota, we'll know. And we'll know what platform it's on. We'll know who's saying it and why they're saying it. So anyways, this all goes back to emotional states. And this is what we're after. It's just unlocking what's going on in the human brain and then spelling it out in plain English to our clients using broadcast and using social. We're trying to connect the dots and bridge the gap there. Since I don't have a deck, I'm not actually sure how long or short I just ran on time here. I have no clue, but we're good? Oh, good, plenty of time, he says. Nice, I can riff more. So does anybody have any questions about what you saw before we switch gears? There's a lot of blank stares. This can't be good. All right, he said, how do I use this as a dealer to get people in my store? So where we would start is, what region are you in? And you would tell us, I'm only interested in Southern California or Northern California. And we would then focus on trends in that region. For example, auto industry buzz. What is everyone in the world talking about connected to cars in general? And then we would look at some of your top competitors. What are they saying that's really alive and kicking with, it could be Ford, for example. What's driving people to go buy a Ford? We'll spell that out and we'll say, here is the content in the industry at large, the most popular trends. Then we'll look at the stuff that is driving people into a Ford dealership. So now you know 2 parts of the equation. And then for Toyota, we'll say, here's how you stack up against those things. For example, right now people are upset with the Toyota Prius because it doesn't, the charge is not as great as it should be. And if that's something you need to address before you can even bring people into the dealership, we would say put out a post on platforms X, Y, and Z at this time of day to this group of people. So at least you can start communicating with them. And then we might look at things like sales data. We could look at things like Toyota sales in SoCal versus NorCal and how people are going into a store and thinking about why they're thinking about buying a car, what they want to do when they leave. If they didn't buy a car, why didn't they buy one? So we'll just try to explain to you what those reasons are. And once you have that data, when you know the who, what, where, when, and why behind people going to your store, then we can start crafting messages on social channels or even an advertisement on TV to impact them. So, yeah, let's do it. Madison Lexus. Magnuson, sorry. You're going to have to spell that once. Corey, open up that search bar for me. How's it spelled? Magnussen. Space Lexus. Not much in there. So, what we would deduce from this is that there's not a high enough level of chatter right now. So, if that's a red flag for us, then we might want to see what are just general conversations about Lexus. What are they actually talking about that's driving content in general for Lexus? So if we just search Lexus right now, actually we have a pro stream for that, don't we, Corey? Open up the streams. This is what we're tracking for you right now. This is the world of Lexus at large. So not just Magnuson, but everyone in every dealership. So we can go in and see, we always want to start with the, that's funny, Nerium is trending with you guys right now. My friend just got a Lexus convertible from Nerium, which is really interesting that that's blowing up. So let's click on Lexus ES on the far left. Let's open that sidebar. And we can see what some of these conversations are that are trending on social networks about Lexus ES. So if I'm trying to figure out how to push out Lexus ES models at Magnuson, I first need to know what they're talking about at large for Lexus ES. So we can do that. And we can see, in this case, there's a lot of stuff coming in from Twitter accounts like Lexus Deals and LA Autos. We could exclude that, by the way. If we don't care about anything connected to sales, we can remove it within the Pro Stream. Scrolling through, maybe we can do something like Lexus and buy. Corey, do Lexus and San Francisco. Please. Ooh. So now, go back to Lexus, Corey. And go to audience. And go to geography. And let's go look at states. So first, we want to see where is it blowing up in. And we're doing it over a very small date range. Go back 30 days. So first things first, in the world of Lexus, where is the content coming from? Mostly out of California. That's pretty good. And then we can go a level deeper, and then we would search. Use search again. We'll go Lexus and California. We always start high level, and then we drill in with content. This is something we teach our clients how to do. So this is Lexus in California at large. What are they talking about? Same deal. And it's probably a little hard to see, but Versace Python, Jesus. I don't even want to know what that is. Let's click it anyways. Versace Python. Let's open it. I'm from California, but I done moved to Texas. My bad, I'm dyslexic in the four-door Mango Lexus. Hashtag Versace Python. Okay, so you find a lot of weird, questionable content in not just Toyota, but some of the other brands we track. But if this became a trend, not the Versace Python, but people who were moving from one state to another, and they were really looking to buy a Toyota or possibly a Ford, then we would set up a pro stream around people who are moving, connected to buying a car. And that's our trend. So what I'm getting at is Sonar is like a starting point for us just to generate ideas and generate questions. And then we can ask the system those questions, and then it will spell it out. But Sonar is there to tell you what to ask. So this is Versace Python. I'd probably stay away from that. But yeah, that's, again, to the long rambling answer to your question is this would be used to understand what the consumer is thinking about the auto industry, Toyota, and your rivals. And once we know that, then we can start developing a messaging strategy on social or broadcast to reach them. So.
Adam, this way.
Yes, back, waving arm. Yeah.
Okay, I guess it's on. Can you explain the relevance of the color of the font, size of the font, and the distance from the center that it's portrayed?
Sure, it's a great question. So we're big on visual cues, as I said before. Size equals the volume of mentions. And so if we see something like in the world of Lexus ES, for example, and we saw that hashtag Versace Python, and it was very large on screen, but it's not orange, all it's telling us is there's a ton of people referencing that hashtag, but there's no engagement behind it. So we actually can show you based off size and color if content falls flat or if it's actually alive and kicking. So in this case, we see AM 980 Lexus on the far left, and it's not orange. That's just telling us there's a number of mentions, but there's no real traction and engagement. However, if things are orange on screen, that's how we know that there's a high velocity behind the content. It's moving quickly, there's engagement, it's spreading, it's being amplified. So orange will indicate that kind of speed and engagement. Size indicates number of mentions. Distance is not relevant to this tool. We create these threads, which you can see spiderwebbing out from the center, and what we're most concerned with is showing all those connective threads unfolding. So in the world of Lexus, we can see it might connect to hashtag BMW, but from there, these are the hashtags driving BMW, connecting back to Lexus. So distance is not relevant, it's just size and color. And by the way, speaking of color, it might be hard for you guys to see, but there are these little nodes under some of the words that are red or green or white, and that's our top level explanation of sentiment, positive, negative, neutral. And then we can drill in and show you what that sentiment actually is, now or over time. So size and color. Yes?
So, a couple of questions. What is the smallest geographic area you can narrow it down to?
So he asked, what's the most granular we can get with geodata? Right now, we do global, and we can get down to state. Next up, hopefully, is going to be city level. We're working on that right now. It's very tough because as of now, most people, for example, on Twitter, roughly 5% or so, I think, willingly give away their location, whether it's by latitude and longitude, like I'm in this room, or it's in their static bio, like I live in Cleveland, Ohio. And or they'll do a Foursquare check-in. That's how we pull our data. So we're getting down to the city level next.
Okay, the second question, and thinking of my particular dealership where it's San Francisco Toyota.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't you going to look at both San Francisco and Toyota, or is it just going to put it together? Like you put Lexus and San Francisco, shouldn't it had something there for San Francisco?
If you're talking about the region versus people talking about the word San Francisco, it's two different paths. So what we do when we make it, this is a great question. He's asking really how we slice and dice this data to not create false positives with what we surface. So when we make a pro stream, we can show you right now. Corey, let's just make a fake one really fast for this gentleman. We're going to make a new stream. All this data is stored in something we call a pro stream. So to make this, go ahead and let's do, actually no, Corey, go hit streams and then just do add new stream. I'll show you how this looks, how we do it. So we'll call it San Francisco Toyota. And we'll make sure it's a social stream, not a broadcast, which we're good on. And then we click next. This is how we do it. We have 3 boxes to tell the story. The top one is going to be mentions of Toyota. And then that's all we need. We don't need the hashtag. We don't need the Twitter handles. And then the second box will say all those trends in Toyota's universe must connect with mentions of San Francisco. We don't even need SF or hashtag Bay Area. That'll all get filtered in. And then at the bottom, we could exclude things like Ford or Tesla or for sale or eBay or Amazon, which we consider spam in some ways. We can get rid of all that, or even parts that are for sale, which in the world of Toyota, we see so many people hawking parts online. I don't know if it's this black market thing or not. It's really strange. Anyways,
Kind of the back end of it.
yeah, and
Now it makes much more sense.
and that's how we do it. And so, but when we set up this stuff for clients, we ask, so this little dialogue we just had, this is how we start with our clients. We say, what is your objective? What are you trying to do? And they say, we're trying to sell cars just in San Francisco. And once we have that, we'll take care of the rest. And then we can get into what networks you want to look at, or it can be the fire hose of everything. And then we can drill in on sentiment. We could even say, we can tweak our sentiment engine. The whole thing is customizable. So we could say exclude certain words. Like we always use the Breaking Bad example. I don't know if anyone here has watched Breaking Bad, but the words by themselves, breaking and bad, are very negative. But together, it was one of the most positive shows in history on social. So our system is able to go in there and remove words like that and ignore them, so we can get a better reading on sentiment, which then goes back to how effective we are at selling cars. So
It kind of by itself can drill down, or even though it's not set up for specific geographic areas,
it'll do it.
these words, you can get it pretty drilled down.
And that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to keep it very simple. And so if you only know San Francisco and Toyota, then that's all we will need. So, yeah, it's a good question. Anyone else? What's up? Oh, sorry, next step, sorry. I got sidetracked. We can, by the way, in this tool, in here, we can set up the follower count if you only care about trends in Toyota connected to people with more than 100 followers. And so then it's going to analyze conversations in the last month to try and give an estimate. And then we would just click OK, and we'd fire it up. And from this point on, it would start pulling in all this data connected to San Francisco. We can, and from here on out, it'll start pulling in data. So it's in real time at this point. So we could click OK, and we could set it up, and then we'd activate it. And from the moment we flip the switch, anybody referencing Toyota and San Francisco from this moment on will start pulling it in. Or we could then pull in historical data. Yes, but if we have streams running, which for the world of Toyota, we've been kind of working with you guys indirectly in some ways, we've been pulling data for Toyota for months now. So we actually have all this historical data we can go back in time and look at, so we can look for patterns in that data. Or we could even import data and go back in time. If we flip the switch now, but we really want 6 months of San Francisco Toyota data, we can go back and pull that in to tell the story. So at this point, now anytime people start talking about Toyota of San Francisco, it's going to start pulling it in. And so that's active, and it runs. But you can see with the other ones we've done, like go to that third tab for me, or the first tab. Yeah, sorry, you're good. Click on streams for me. If you look at Lexus or Scion, we've been pulling in data for this for months now. So if we go in our signals tab and click on hashtags, which is really hilarious for Scion, and we change that date range. You're looking at the here and now, but at the top right, we can go back in time and look at those trends over a much larger time frame. So, and we can look for patterns in that. So,
Question in the back here.
we do annual contracts for our clients, and then it's unlimited pro streams. It's just the volume of mentions. We do packages of 1 million, 5 million, 10 million mentions, and that's it. And it's an annual contract for this. And so, working with individual dealerships, we don't do that right now, but we feel like we already work with dealerships because of how much raw data we look at in terms of who wants to buy a Toyota in San Francisco versus the middle of Minnesota. Like we can show that kind of stuff. And so we know all this already. And same with Scion and Lexus, because we've been tracking it for so long. So we would have to officially start working with you guys. We're just storing it right now on our own. Yeah, we're just playing with the data ourselves right now. And Joe and Dan have been amazing about letting us come here and share all this with you.
So you're not doing any contracting with Toyota?
Not as of yet. Not as of yet. We just launched this whole thing last October. It took several years to build it up, and so we've really just came into the market. And we've worked with one major auto brand who is a huge rival to you guys, but we're I guess
What
not
does it
allowed to talk
rhyme
about
with,
that.
Adam?
What?
So what does it rhyme with?
What is it? What?
Rhyme with.
Rhyme with? Oh, what does it rhyme with? I can't do that.
Is it
I've
Fonda?
really learned not to put my foot in my mouth with NDAs. But yes, it was all about crisis mitigation for this brand, connected to things like faulty parts and recalls. I'll let you connect the dots on your own. But yeah.
I think we have a question in the back here.
Yes.
Yeah. First of all, fascinating.
Thanks.
I'm just, as a technologist, I'm just thinking about the data storage that's going on and the ingesting. I was particularly impressed with the ability to pull in broadcast data and then show it up natively. My question really revolves around sentiment. So the volumetric data is that's measurable. It's pretty straightforward. Just counting things. But sentiment is really kind of the holy grail of social media. So it's the first time I've seen an 36-point scale. And most of the tools that I've explored from a sentiment perspective, if you do the human comparative analysis, the sentiment basically, it's basically you're going to make good decisions on terrible data because it's surfacing really terrible data. So can you, without geeking out too badly, just kind of...
I'm doing it for you. It's okay.
Yeah. Just maybe share a little bit about how your sentiment analysis is constructed, particularly for something as nuanced as sarcasm, which I frankly have never heard anybody talk about. So,
This is my favorite part to talk about in the tool, so thanks for that question. He's asked about sentiment and how we do it. Is anyone in this room familiar with a company called Lexalytics by any chance? You are. That's all right. So for the 99% of you that don't know who they are, they do military-grade sentiment. Their entire business is sentiment. So we brought their engine in-house and painstakingly layered it on top of our own algorithms, filters, rules, and agents to then come up with this hyper-customized sentiment. And when we do that, we start building out types. For example, sarcasm, which, as he said, is notoriously difficult to do. We build in a set of 10 to 50 words, like first world problems or mom problems that we know generally are sarcastic in nature, and then we look at the connective threads from those words. What else is connected to that in sarcasm? Because we can look at so much data, we can see the strongest trending sarcastic words that we know connect back to that. So we constantly are building out the set of words. So and actually, if you want to see, Corey, let's show them under the hood what this looks like for sentiment. It's in annotations. Yeah, we'll show you what this looks like. Or escape that. Yeah, go to admin. Yep, go to annotations. We have 150 types of annotations, some of which are connected to sentiment, some of which are connected to things like updates or Q&As, like Reddit Ask Me Anythings. And so within that, like here's our sarcasm one. It took us a couple days. We added things like ironic and irony, and my favorite was that awkward moment when. And when we see this kind of stuff show up, then we detect all the fringe content that is sarcastic as well. So what I'm getting at is we don't have to know everything that's sarcastic, but we know enough to then build the web. And so I don't know what we're laughing at, but it can't be good. Yeah. So
Are you on crack?
are you on? Oh yeah. That was a recent one. So the further you go down that list, the more recent they are. But the point is, so when we look at all this stuff, whether it's an annotation like sarcasm or happiness or aggression, we look at, I mentioned 3 billion pieces of data an hour across 150 metrics. We're unwrapping every single piece of content, every word in every post in real time, and we're detecting which words are sarcastic, which are happy, which have no relevance to what we're doing. And then in real time, we can then spit that back out. So we do this using a really complex architecture that unwraps all of this data and then in seconds can say, here is this, here is that, this is positive, this is negative, and then if we need to drill down, we can get into the sarcasm, anger, et cetera. So it's a lot of data, but Lexalytics and Bottlenose work together on unwrapping that content. And as I said before, it's every single word in a post. So, and that's, by the way, how we knew to look up things like, Breaking Bad, which was screwing up our sentiment engine. Because by themselves, as I said, breaking and bad were horrible words, but together, it was an exceptionally positive piece of content. So we went into the system and would say, ignore Breaking Bad as negative, just the words. And so we're always training the engine. Yeah. By the way, to that point around sentiment, there's a much bigger thing we can do in this tool. And Corey, if you open that sidebar and click on trends, we're in the world of Toyota, and I told you before how we can send you these trends. Well, we're adding in, soon we're adding in sentiment as part of the alert. But if you got this link right, or this hashtag Toyota, which was blowing up, when you click into it, we unbox that trend for you. So we can show you the people driving it, what do we have? Yeah, what are they saying, what the conversation is about, and the people involved. So for every piece of content coming out, we unwrap it and explain to you what it is. And this is before we even get into sentiment. We just want to know who's driving it and what they're saying. And so that's how we look at sentiment alerts right now. But soon we'll be baking in things like crisis versus opportunity. But the sentiment engine is growing by the day, and we're constantly adding in new keywords to help make sense of things like sarcasm.
What's the level of accuracy on the behavioral attribution?
It changes. It depends on the stream, because we build these from the ground up for every single client, which, by the way, is my favorite point to make. There is no silver bullet for sentiment. What we do for you guys is completely different than what we would do for somebody like Nike or Pepsi, because your audiences are so different. Someone who drinks a Pepsi might, oddly enough, hate driving cars. And if that's the case, then we can't use those same filters. So what we do is, I could tell you that on a Toyota stream, our accuracy rate is 85%. But on the Scion one, maybe it's 65. So it changes based off of how much data we have and how long we've been doing it. And so the answer is it changes per stream. So, and by the way, Corey, do we know this? What is like the human level of accuracy for sentiment? It's like, Lexalytics told us that just when humans look at text and try to make sense of emotions, the accuracy rate is around 70%. So it's not that great. Like, it's not 100 where it should be. So, we're trying to get there. Nobody has yet hit the magical 100 number. We hope to be the first, but we'll see. More questions, or? Mm-hmm. If he mentions San Francisco and he talks about Toyota, yeah. And it most likely, I would say Twitter is hands down our most effective spot for that. Brings up a larger point, by the way. If we have access.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Oh, sorry? Can you repeat his question? Oh, sorry, yeah. He asked if anybody was tweeting about Toyota and San Francisco right now, would that show up in our sonar screen? And the answer is yes, it would. But it depends on the fire hose we access. For example, we have full fire hose on Twitter, full fire hose on Tumblr, public Facebook, Google+, public, but within all that, we can bring in stuff like Vine, and we can bring in Pinterest, which doesn't have open access, but if it's trending, we'll bring it in. But that single mention on Pinterest, that might be impossible for us to pull in. But if it's on Twitter, we can bring it in. So yeah, if anyone starts tweeting about Toyota and San Francisco right now, sure. Oh, there we go. Are people doing this? All right, what do we got? Nice, good work, guys. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see too well. Yeah. Of course, at Arez beat me to the shout out to San Francisco Toyota. We could click on that and go right in. By the way, if any one of you does have a Twitter profile, like your own personal one or the branded one, we could then drill in the same way we look at topics and hashtags. We can get a heat map, an influencer heat map, just for that one Twitter account. So there's a post. And now we've just clicked on it. Now we're looking at just Ariane's Twitter account.
Arlene.
Oh, I'm sorry, Arlene. Yeah, Arlene. Arlene, where are you?
Uncharted territory, right up front.
This is your whole world, Arlene. We're going to show it to everyone in the room. Oh, stay. Aw. If anyone wants to know Arlene's entire universe, we can show it to you right now. Outside of Toyota. I saw the word homemade on there before, I think. I want to know what that's about. Anyways, this is how we look at the world. Yeah, we'll keep this open later so everyone can see Arlene's social life, if you want. She'll probably kill me later, but that's okay. But yeah, look, I mean, guys, the whole world is connected through big data, but what drives the data are emotions, and that's how we tell our story. So it's really the concept of a global brain with a global heart, and that's what we do in the market. We connect the two across broadcast and social. So.
All right, everybody, how about a big, big hand for Adam and Corey from Bottlenose. Thank you very, very much. Outstanding.